Space. Some regions are vast and empty, other areas we call closets. Fortunately, Kevin from the Container Store has answers.
Right.
Kevin, what gives you the power over space?
I'd say Elfa customizable closets. With free design and Elfa's adjustable shelving and drawers, I can create space in any size closet.
Kevin, master of space and closets.
Or just Kevin. Plus, right now, save 30% on Elfa and installation and earn up to $500 in credit through February 10th.
At the Container Store, where space comes from.
Where is that music coming from?
Blog Talk Radio.
Let's go. It's time to attack. We the smartest, fastest, and most vicious. We gonna put them in their place. You coming out here? We're gonna play.
And he's gonna fire deep. Puts it there inside the 10. Throws Superman. Good route by Edelman. Now they come on a reverse to the near side on a quick run.
What's up, NFL fans out there, and welcome to another edition of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue, the show where we talk nothing but NFL football. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan. I'm at the round table with my partner, and I got to give my partner a congratulations for the sixth damn time in his life. Fred, we got Fred Purdue in the building. Congratulations to your New England Patriots on their sixth Lombardi trophy. They've tied the Pittsburgh Steelers, but in my opinion, this is a little more impressive because they've done this over a span of, just under 2 decades. They've come full circle, beating the Rams for their first Super Bowl and their sixth Super Bowl. How are you feeling, my brother, on this Parade Tuesday?
To do the best impression I have, I'm not going to do any impressions. All I got to say is, great job. I'm happy. Make sure you address us as Super Bowl champions for the next 365, and we'll catch you in 2019. That's all right. I'm gracious. I'm gracious about it. Me being a fan of the last Super Bowl champions, I'm like, hey, what do we have to complain about on this show? I will graciously hand you over the belt for you to, hand you back the belt for you to wear for another year. We'll see what happens, next year. But hey, I can get with this, Fred. If we're gonna pass it back and forth, I'm good with that. I know you, you don't like sharing that much, but if we can pass it back and forth, like, hey, this would be a great program here. What can anybody say to us? Yeah. All right, so like I said again, congrats, New England Patriots, Super Bowl 53 champions. We're gonna unpack everything. We're gonna unravel this thing. A 13-3 victory over the Los Angeles Rams in a game that a lot of people have been calling boring. Like I would rather call it uneventful because everybody's so used to dominant offensive football these days. During the game, I found myself yawning a few times, but I think that has everything to do with my current lifestyle. Rather than the actual game. It could have had more to do with the entire broadcast, like the commercials were trying. You look for that kind of stuff when you don't have a rooting interest. You want the commercials to be good. You want halftime to be good, and it just wasn't that. The game, personally, I've always liked dominant defensive football. These two teams played very well defensively. I don't know if I want to call it dominant. I mean, first of all, you know what you're dealing with on the Belichick side of the ball. We've talked about it for 2 weeks. Hell, we talked about it for 2 years, as long as this show has been going on, and we talked about it much longer off air. We know what you have to deal with, especially offensively, when you're dealing with a Belichick coach team after a layoff, after a 2-week layoff. And the keys that I gave to the game for the Patriots and on the inverse for the Rams offense, like, it showed itself. I said, the Rams wouldn't have a chance if they couldn't get Todd Gurley and or C.J. Anderson going. They couldn't get them going. I also said that Belichick would be happy to put the game in the hands of Jared Goff, which he was, and it just wasn't successful for the Rams. What did you see out there? Man, Jared Goff, he looked like a third-year quarterback.
He really did. I mean, now, and I'm not going to go as far as many have said, Jeff Fisher was back as the head coach. He got his job. I'm not going that far.
Yeah. Prisoners of the moment,
Bill
though.
Belichick.
I heard a lot of people say Jared Goff's a bum. McVay is not what they say he is. I'm like, okay, come on. This team has dominated the NFL for the last 2 decades. There's no shame in losing to these guys. I
mean, you have a multiple. I mean, this Belichick has multiple Super Bowls here, not just as a head coach, but as a coordinator. He's had possibly the 2 best players on both sides of the ball. I mean, you had Lawrence Taylor, you killed it. As a defensive coordinator with the Giants, you have Tom Brady, you killed it. So he knows how to take guys away. He knows how to – you got 2 weeks to prepare. I mean, it looked like a Belichick team that was ready for this game. And they said, Brandon Cooks, you're not going to beat us. He beat you. He didn't finish, but he beat you. And Jared Goff, the one thing I noticed was Belichick has gotten especially in the playoffs, he got very aggressive. I mean, 0 blitzes. I mean, cover zero blitzes. And for those of you guys that are not great on the schematics part of it, cover 0. Nobody in the middle of the field. No safety in the middle of the field. All out blitz, man-to-man across the board.
It pretty much means you're disrespecting the offense. Pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, what I saw too was they said you're not going to run the football. They literally put a defense. They put Danny Shelton over top of the center, and they walked Dante Hightower up onto the line of scrimmage and said, "Look, if you're going to throw the football and you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us. But I don't think you can because we're going to bring more than you can block." And on 3rd down especially, I mean, they confused him because they show a guy bringing the blitz, but he dropped. They have multiple bodies moving everywhere, and I'm sitting there, as the, I guess you want to call it, armchair quarterback. I'm sitting there saying, "Oh, he's coming. I'm wrong." I'm sitting there. I'm wrong, and I'm typically not always wrong, especially knowing the team that I had, my team. Belichick literally game planned this game perfectly. Offensively, Brady didn't have the best game, but 21 of 35 isn't terrible for Brady. That's normal numbers. He threw an interception early. 262 yards. I'm not going to call this game terrible. The Rams covered. They literally put the clamps down in the secondary. Julian Edelman just gave everybody that work. It didn't matter who covered him. It didn't matter if it was Roby. It didn't matter if it was Marcus Peters. Literally option routes, whip routes. It looked like a clinic. And you add in Gronk here and there. You add the one guy I didn't really see a lot of was James White. He only touched the ball 3 times. That was very astonishing because, and I actually tweeted out, I said, is James White getting the Malcolm Butler treatment? Because they trotted out Rex Burkhead, who didn't get a ton of carries or a ton of touches all season. He got 7 carries in this game. He also was split out wide another 2 times. So,
what did I tell you? What did I tell you about the unpredictability of your coach?
Exactly.
Didn't I say they'll mess around and give Burkhead the ball, and they gave Burkhead the damn ball?
Exactly. Exactly. The one
James White was a no-show, and it wasn't by any doing of his own. He just wasn't really a part of the game plan.
Exactly. And for me, the one thing that really frustrated me was you see Sony Michel, who was, he was rolling. I think he's going to be a big piece of this offense, especially with Brady coming down to the last couple of years of his career. You're going to see remember how John Elway and Terrell Davis, they kind of got going. They kind of tag team that thing at the end. That's what Sony Michel's there for. And he had 18 carries for 94 yards, and he was knocking off big chunks of yardage. But the one thing I hated was you get 3 yards here, 4 yards here, 5-yarder there, and then they just go empty. And I'm like, why are you going shotgun empty when you're running the ball down their throat right at Aaron Donald, and it boggled my mind, and you just kill the offense. That's where a lot of the 3 and outs came from. They'd run the ball on first or second down, and then they get a good chunk, and then they want to throw the ball. I guess I get trying to mix it up, but whatever works. And this is me criticizing a Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator and Josh McDaniels, but I've always been of the belief that if something is working, until they can stop it, why are you going to stop doing it? So,
right.
They wore down that team. They wore down Aaron Donald. I mean, that was just what it was. Sue was, again, he was very invisible for about
he made a couple
3.5 quarters.
Yeah, he made a couple plays, but there was nothing consistent going on from those two guys. But when you're Aaron Donald, you have to go into every big game expecting for the other team to try to take you out of it. So that's when your teammates around you have to step around and step up. And I'm not saying that they didn't. I think the Rams defense played just as well as the Patriots defense, if not better in some areas. You just know if you're hanging around that long and you're not capitalizing on what your defense is doing, the Patriots are going to eventually get down the field and put something on the board.
Definitely.
And that something was enough to basically nail the game up. It was a defensive battle in the Super Bowl, and in today's day and age, a lot of fans don't want to see that. So that's why we kept hearing
that was a beautiful game.
From the fans what we heard. Yeah, so
for me,
I don't know. I just think we've come to expect different. That's why I'm not knocking the people. People have come to expect.
We expect
a certain
50-49.
Kind of, yeah. You expect a different. Last year they got treated to a damn shootout in the Super Bowl, and the teams who were in it freaking cursed their defense from sea to shining sea because they couldn't stop each other. But all the other fans were like, "Oh, I love that." If I'm not rooting for anybody, or even if I hate both of these teams, at least they entertain me. But you and I both playing against each other last season, we were like, yo, stop somebody. Like, what the hell are you doing?
I was really surprised because, and for me, what I looked at, too, was the Rams didn't help themselves. I mean, 9 penalties. I mean, the Patriots, you know what they are. They're a very disciplined team. 3 penalties, 20 yards. But the Rams, 9 penalties for 65 yards, and they were penalties that you can control. Delay of game, holding, things, especially on the defensive side of the ball, defensive holding multiple times. That was one of the big things. And also, you're allowing sacks. They allowed 4 sacks. Patriots don't bring that kind of pressure ever. So that was huge. And for one of the time of possession, they didn't help themselves. 26 minutes with the ball. Patriots had about 7 minutes more. But it seemed like the Rams had the ball the majority of the game, but their drives it was punt, 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 punt. And they go 4 or 5 plays, and then they punt again, and you can't do that. And both teams were similar on third down, so I can't really praise one team over the other. Patriots were 3 of 12, and the Rams were 3 of 13. So I can't really be too upset. Patriots went for it on 4th down. I didn't like that call at all. I didn't understand that call. I knew it was going to be short. It was actually a drop pass. So I knew that's really dicey against a team like the Rams, whose defense they were locking up pretty well early.
Yeah. So, not a lot of scoring in the game, like we've mentioned. It's just amazing, man. I mean, because he's going to get all the credit because he's the leader of the team, Bill Belichick I'm talking about. But, their defensive game plan is just – it was a thing of beauty because we're talking about the Rams here. Like, people, I know it's the regular season seemed like a long time away. Even other playoff games seem like a long time away. But this is a very high-powered offense. You get them in the biggest game of the season, you hold them to 3 points. Now, we know they have coordinators and all of that kind of stuff, but I mean, that's the genius of Bill Belichick. And I don't like to throw that word around, but, as a football, as a coach, the genius of Bill Belichick is, whether you want to give him all the credit or not, a great leader knows how to put people in place, that are going to bring something to the table and make everybody look good. So the defensive game plan, which I know he had a big hand in, I want to give the defensive coordinator his props as well. But it was just amazing, man, and shout out to the Rams defense as well. So where do we go from here? I mean, we talk about Tom Brady. They asked him the questions. They try to get him to give some kind of indication on, whether he's going to hang it up or whether he's going to, try to go to his mid-40s, like you said. And he seems to be sticking with that right now. Tom is greedy. Tom is coming back for some more, and he's going to try to carve a few more out before he gets out of here. The MVP of the game, wide receiver Julian Edelman, 10 receptions, 141 yards. It was pretty clear, unless you gave it to a defensive player, which could have been the case. Like, we could make a strong case for Stephon Gilmore. Back on offense, you could make a small case for Sony Michel going for 94 yards on 18 carries and the game's only touchdown. You could make a case for some people, but Julian Edelman kept the chains moving.
I made a case for Kyle Van Noy, linebacker number 53. He has been, when they acquired him a couple of years ago for a 4th round pick, I said, okay, he's an undersized, speedy linebacker. He used to be a safety in college back in his BYU days, but he's the perfect type of linebacker because he can run with those guys like a Higbee, like a Jared Goff, who can actually scramble a little bit, like a Todd Gurley. He can be out in those flat areas.
It didn't look like it on Sunday though, Fred. They made him look slow for some reason. He had trouble getting just to the sideline on some scrambles. I'm like, wow, they making Jared Goff look.
I actually thought they were going to call that one where Van Noy pushed him out of bounds. I was like, here we go. We're going to call it, because we know how we protect quarterbacks so much. I mean, you even breathe on them nowadays. And that goes for my quarterback too. If you even look Tom Brady's way, they're gonna call something. So I like the fact that the refs, and I think they had to be held to that standard of let these guys play, especially after the NFC Championship game where the Rams and the Saints had that ridiculous no call. You almost had to let these guys play and only call a penalty on something that was just egregious. So, Jared Goff, he was getting tracked down by linebackers, and it looked like he was just playing at a whole different speed. Even like when he was processing the defenses, he looked confused at the line of scrimmage, and I'm just saying, just the movement, and the moment. I don't think the moment was too big, but maybe, just maybe, Belichick, he out-schemed the mind games of the Jedi leader, as I call him, kind of got to those guys.
What's wrong with Todd Gurley? That's 2 games in a row.
I was wondering if you were going to go there.
It wasn't just performance. It was like, I don't know. It's like they're not even utilizing him as much as
I think
he should.
I think his knee was still messed up a little bit.
We heard during the game from the sideline reporters that, on the sideline it seems like there was some knee activity going on, whereas the Rams didn't talk about it, and they didn't show anything during the game. After the game, the next day, I heard rumors of some kind of illness, and he made these comments after the game that kind of sounded like one of those comments where you're trying to say, well, there's bigger things in my life going on right now, and like those kind of comments, like, at the end of the day, this is like there's something serious going on. And the first thing everybody thinks about when you start talking like that, like, oh my God, does this dude have some kind of life-altering disease or something? But there's something like Todd Gurley is one of the best players in our league. This is weird to me that for 2 games in a row, the 2 biggest games of his career, the 2 biggest games of, most of everybody on the Rams team and staff, 2 biggest games of their career, that one of the top 5 to 10 NFL players is not being utilized the way that we're used to seeing them utilized. And it just seemed like he's out of it, disengaged with the game. Like, I'm wondering what's wrong with his body or what's on his mind. It's puzzling, man. I always thought leading up to the game, if there's something wrong with Todd Gurley, maybe they want to hide it from the other team. But I'm like, somebody needs to say something now, because when things start coming out this week, they're all just going to sound like excuses. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
definitely, yeah.
Say something.
I think
say something.
I think the knee was a problem, and we have to go. If you go back to his days at Georgia, he had a bit of a knee problem then. So a little birdie let me know, and I'm still trying to really get down on this one. But don't be surprised if, let's say, in the summer we hear about a Todd Gurley knee surgery, maybe he gets it scoped or something. So, for me, when I look at that, when I hear something like that, that's always huge. And nobody's healthy at this point. But you know how every year I always say, when they pay these running backs huge money, I always say, or they go out and draft a guy. And, Sony Michel was a first-round pick, and I'm happy we got him. But yeah, you don't. I would never touch I was running an organization, unless I'm the Patriots, because it's a little bit different, because their running backs, for whatever reason, they're different. It's a different type. They have different roles. So they're not getting 25 carries a game. Todd Gurley's going to be that guy. He's the guy. He's your old school 20, 25 carries a game guy. But I'm not paying a guy 4 years and $57 million. I'd be willing to give you 35. I might give you, 45, but I'm not willing to make you the highest paid back in the league. I'm not willing to give you that kind of money, knowing that you're you're the most injury prone player on this team. I'm not willing to do that. So, for him, it's going to be, can he stay healthy? Because he's always been a health risk. And they have him through 2023, and they're going to have to pay him even more going forward. So, good luck. Because that number jumps to $13 million next year.
All right. Something that we have to get into, because we've done it off air. Julian Edelman. Prior to the game, there was a lot of praise for Julian Edelman and his playoff performances throughout the years, especially throughout their, the 3 Super Bowl wins that they have with him as a member of the squad. There started to be some chatter about Julian Edelman to Canton one day. After the game, after his 10 receptions, 141 yards, Super Bowl MVP performance, the chatter got louder. So, of course, we at War Room Sports took to social media and did our latest segment of HOF or FOH. If you don't know what that means, think about it. So we talked about it. Fred and I got into some arguments about it. We're going to give our thoughts right here on the air. First of all, I think he's an FOH. I think he's a big FOH, and I love Julian Edelman as a player. Fred seems to think that he would get. Now, this is what I didn't get from you. You seem to think that he will get in or has a shot to get in, but you never really told me because the way we phrase it, like, we don't really care how they get in, who gets in, because we know, the politics of the game, people do that. Our question when we ask HOF or FOH is, if you had the sole vote that could get somebody in, would you put Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame after, what he's done in the league so far?
Yeah, I would. One, for me, when I look at, you have to do probably one of about 3 things. You have to be generationally great, where you're Jerry Rice, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. You have to be one of those guys where you change the game so much that they either change rules for you, no one can stop you, or except Father Time, or something like that. He's not there. He's definitely not there. I'm not giving him that. You have to just be the guy that just puts up outrageous numbers, or you have to be able to put up some kind of memorable moment. And in the last, 4 Super Bowls, he's done that. I mean, if you go back to the Seattle game, he's the one that
chicken, chocolate.
I have to get the Homer voice out for you. I have no choice, because when I hear you talk like this, one of the greatest football minds I know, I have to ask you questions like,
What the hell is that?
Fred, I see. Like, all right, I gotta do this. It's obligatory that I have to do this. We've talked about it, so I already know what your retort is going to be, but I have to do it. We're talking right now. Let's see, where are we? I'm on the wrong dude. This is regular season. You add a few more playoffs in that, but we're talking 499 receptions, 5,390 yards, 30 touchdowns. That's in the regular season. Now we go to the playoffs, and
before you go there,
games.
Can I stop you?
Go ahead.
Okay. So you said 499 catches, correct? In the This is regular season numbers only. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a player's numbers, and I want you to tell me, are these players 336 catches, 5,462 yards, 51 touchdowns? Is that Hall of Fame worthy?
Now tell me when they played. Tell me when they played. Give me all the context. Tell me when they played.
Give you full context. Full context. 1974 to 1974. By the way.
1974. At a time when the damn forward pass was only 10 years old. I'm exaggerating.
1974 to 1982. Okay. Would you put that player in the Hall of Fame?
By today's standards, I can't. But my point is asking you when they played, because I knew you were going to say sometime way back in the, we got to get in the DeLorean to go way back to when this person played. You have to look at things different, Fred. That was a different era. We're in the era now where average receivers sometimes are catching 85 balls for 1,100 yards, and you're like, yo, dude, is really not even that good. How is he getting these kind of numbers? I happen to think that Julian Edelman is really great at what he does. I don't even think he's better than Wes Welker at this point. I really don't.
Not so fast.
I really don't think he's better than Wes Welker at this point.
Because you have to remember, Julian Edelman, although he's been in the league, he didn't really play his first couple of years, and he also missed last season. So those numbers are a little bit off because of missed time.
So how are we putting him in the Hall of Fame already? The
reason I'm willing to put him there is because those numbers I previously gave you, those belong to Lynn Swann. 4 Super Bowls. I know
exactly who they belong to. But like I said, we're going back to a time period where, you have to factor that in. And even then, I think Lynn Swann is more known for the spectacular stuff he did, right? Like, I might even back then still have a problem with putting Lynn Swann in the Hall of Fame. So I don't judge this by who's in there, because I already think in every sport there's a ton of people in the Hall of Fame who probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Ton of them. So that's why I'm not even going to go comparing to people. I'm not going to take like the weakest stat line of a Hall of Famer. Like, look at your man, like Joe Namath. The man threw more interceptions than touchdowns, but he won a Super Bowl and he was cool with his fur coat on the sideline, so everybody won his job. You know what I'm saying? It's like certain people.
And that's why I said the criteria to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to be generationally great. You have to put up ridiculous numbers. You don't have to be great to put up numbers, especially now. Or you have to give us just, I call them instant classic moments. You know, the Super Bowl against Seattle. He falls into those instant classic moments because when you look at the Seattle game, the Atlanta game, that catch alone, how many great catches have we seen where guys? I mean, Lynn Swann, for example. So you saw that catch against the Falcons. That catch is probably top 3 to 5 all time, especially with the difficulty. And then you add in this game where he was just unstoppable, and he just made everybody look silly.
I don't think that puts you in
I
the
don't
Hall
think
of
he'll
Fame.
get in any time.
I just think that gets you on NFL films and gets you praised.
I don't think
there's nothing that anybody can justify to me that I would agree to put Julian Edelman in the Hall. We could talk about 3 rings all we want. I don't know a wide receiver. The closest, of course, we all know that we could put in that category is Jerry Rice. But I don't know a wide receiver who has been on championship teams, even multiple championship teams, who was the reason for this team winning a championship. Wide receivers just don't carry teams like that. It's such a dependent position.
Yeah, they're a dependent position.
You're a wide receiver and you're going into the Hall of Fame. You had to have been one of those feared weapons. And I'm not saying, I think people more so
they usually are the reason
Edelman
teams
does
get there, but not the reason they win.
But listen to this, though. I think people feared what Julian Edelman does more than actually fearing Julian Edelman. And for anybody out there who doesn't understand what I'm saying, the Patriots have had this before. Julian Edelman is not the first Julian Edelman. He's not even the first Julian Edelman on the Patriots. So it's like they do this. Every year they have that guy.
And they've drafted another one
shallow routes across the middle,
so.
And he's going to get on your nerves because when you think you have them beat, he's going to move the chains. They had Wes Welker.
Right.
Then they had Julian Edelman. When Julian Edelman was hurt for the season, Amendola stepped in. He wasn't as good as the other two, but he still did the same things. He moved the chains. Yeah. He got on people's nerves. So I can't do it, Fred. I got to give him an FOH, man.
I don't think he'll
think you home ran
first ballot or anything. No, I'm
not even.
I know whatever you say.
I'm like, you either deserve it or you don't. I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Usually you hear when you hear Hall of Fame when you make that conversation, you know, you always think automatically first ballot, second ballot. I don't think Julian Edelman gets in first, second, third. It's going to be a long time, and it's only because, you know, wide receiver just in the last 2 decades. Think of the guys that are way ahead of him, and I'm willing to go and say, you know, and I made a big statement. I said he'd get in before Calvin Johnson. It's not because of the production. It's not the production.
You was drinking that 6-ring punch.
But hear me out. Hear me out. Okay, so it's not the production why he'll get in first. It's more so the log jam that's there at receiver. Think about it. Who are the wide receivers that got in the last 20 years? We've only put in like 4. So you have.
So being a player still in the league, you think he's going to come jump over that log jam, jump over Calvin Johnson to get in the Hall?
And the reason I say that because T.O. just got in, so you still have Larry Fitzgerald. He won't get in for a while because he's still playing. I think he'll probably play 2 more years and call it quits. So
still got Isaac Bruce waiting, who even with his exorbitant numbers, I'm not even sure if I would put Isaac Bruce in the Hall of Fame.
Isaac Bruce is worth Torrey Holt. Well, yeah, and see that's the thing. The guy on the other side of him was a little bit better.
Right.
He was a little bit better. And
Torrey. Then you're gonna have Andre Johnson coming up. Then you're gonna. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, you have guys like Chad Johnson who may never get in, and he was really, really good. You know,
and there was a time where you could argue that Chad might have been the best receiver in the league. If not, he was definitely top 3 to 5 at some point. You know what Julian Edelman is to me? This is no diss whatsoever. Julian Edelman to me is Robert Horry. You know what I'm saying? He's the type of guy who made
I can see that.
plays,
Nice comparison.
made big plays at big times on championship teams, but I still do not think for 1 second that without those plays from Robert Horry that these teams wouldn't have won championships. You know what I'm saying? Actually, Julian might be a little more important than Robert Horry. Robert Horry is so overrated in people's eyes. You know how revisionist history goes.
Right.
The farther away we get from something, the more the legend grows. People forget, Robert Horry has never made any of those shots in, any closeout games or anything like that.
Right.
But we tell
He made them when they were.
Man, if it weren't for Robert Horry, Kobe and Shaq wouldn't have had a couple of – no. Kobe and Shaq, there's a possibility they may have had to play one more game.
Yeah,
they
still to close it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I would say that he's Robert Horry, maybe a little more important just because it's a one-and-done situation in football. So you have to get in this game, and you have to do it now. Like, you can't hit a shot and get – you know what I'm saying? Edelman can't score a touchdown or move the chains in a crucial situation in Game 5 because there's only a Game 1. You know what I mean?
Right.
So in that regard, he's a little more important. But that's my comparison. And I'd never put Robert Horry in the Hall of Fame. You might have a plaque somewhere in the Hall of Fame to tell people what you did. Like, you might be in the clutch room or something like that.
So
I'm
curious of this. Okay. So Julian Edelman is 32. He'll be 33 when the season starts. Coming up. Take away the Pro Bowls, take away the All Pros. We know that's never going to happen based off of he's a slot receiver. It's just not going to happen. But he'll probably get really close to Calvin Johnson's numbers are 731 catches, 11,619 yards, and 83 touchdowns. If he even gets let's say he puts up about 800 yards a season for the next 4 years, 5 years. Does he have a chance of getting in because he got close to where Calvin Johnson is? If the numbers are comparable,
I think it's going to be.
Are you willing to not?
Because I still think that Calvin Johnson, the allure with
his
him,
impact was different.
The fact that he cut his career short, just like another Detroit Lion, and
him and
was still so high on the list. Yeah, it was still so high on the list, when he cut his career short. But I also think if Calvin Johnson never makes the Hall of Fame, like Calvin Johnson was clearly the best receiver in the league at one point. But if he never makes the Hall because he cut his own career short, I'm not going to cry for him on that either. So I don't even think Julian Edelman's comparison numbers-wise is going to be Calvin Johnson because he's going to have he's done it in so little seasons. But like I said, if he doesn't get in, I'm like, hey, you the one that quit. I know it's hard to play in Detroit, my dog. Barry Sanders. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, they make greats quit. Like they make
you
people
re-sign those contracts.
To be in the argument of greatest of all time.
He re-signed that contract. He didn't have to stay. He did not have to stay. He could have.
Some people try to stick it out. Some people try to stick it out. Some people believe in loyalty in sports, which there's no such thing.
None. There's none. There's none.
So yeah, sometimes people play themselves, and then they decide, I made a bad decision. I'm out. But we'll see how this plays out in the future. When we're big wigs in the future, and we're no longer the talent, and we've made enough money to hire people and do shows. We'll come on and do some guest spots and be like, yeah, we argued about this 15 years ago. We'll see how it goes. But as far as your Patriots are concerned, Fred, what next? Every year somebody says the dynasty's over. Hard to say the dynasty's over, even though, the star is old in the tooth. It's hard to say a dynasty's over when the team just finished winning the goddamn Super Bowl. So what next?
So what next?
Philly New England rematch next year? Y'all gonna be back in it? What are we gonna do?
I don't like making those type of predictions, especially I'm used to making that prediction but because there's this monster in Kansas City who scares me so much. I mean,
but you know what else they have in Kansas City? They have the greatest runner-up coach of all time.
Yeah.
He might be seriously, Andy Reid might be allergic to the Super Bowl. There was this one time where they allowed him to bust through, and he got in there, and he and his quarterback sneezed all over the place. I think Andy might be allergic because usually they end up that one game from it. They start to knock on the door of the Super Bowl, and I guess all the pet dander and cat hair comes out of the keyhole or something of the door, and then they start choking and coughing and throwing up, pun intended. Shout out to McNabb. Like, Andy is the greatest runner-up coach of all time, man. He is the AFC. He is the championship game maven. He will get you to the championship game.
As long as this guy has that monster at quarterback, I already told you take Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers out of this thing. He's the second best quarterback in this league, and I'm willing to. After 1 year, I'm buying the Kool-Aid and I'm stirring it up. I'm drinking it and all that. So what's next?
I'll tell you this, Fred.
That team off.
I'll tell you this. If those rumors that we heard a few weeks ago come to pass, if they can get Rex Ryan in as their defensive coordinator, we know good running backs are probably going to be lining up at their door to get in, to be a part of that freak show over there.
Or
maybe they become players in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes.
Ooh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
that's
like
Tom and it might be over at that point. Like, that's all Andy.
Help on the defense.
We talk about Hall of Fame. That's all Andy needs. Like, he's a possible Hall of Fame candidate without it. But as much success as he's had, as many championship games as he's been to, like you said, one ring just puts that man over the top and puts him in a whole other echelon
in the next 3 years. He can have one. Just in
not
year,
before Tom Brady
4 years
turns 45 and retires.
Yeah, 4 years from now, when Tom Brady is 46 years old, he can have one. That is the 2023 season. Yeah, you can have one then. When Brady's gone, you can have one.
You got to strike while the iron's hot before Mahomes start getting injured like McNabb or getting fat like McNabb.
Or you have to pay him because
congratulations again. 6 Super Bowl championships. Steelers fans everywhere are sick. And if you guys are back next year, they're going to go from sick to death. Because,
can I be honest with you, though?
Sixburg was something we had to hear for a long time from everybody.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me to be very, very honest, I'd be okay if the Patriots won one more time. Last hoorah, just call it a day. And Brady says, I'm done. I got one more than Jordan. I'm done. I'm out. And just drops the mic and leaves.
You'll be happy if they never win again. You got 6. Stop being greedy. Can we get some? Because we still need a couple of more because we got these people in our division with these old dusty rings that are turning colors who still, first it went from you guys have no rings, now it's, well, we got 3, we got this many, we got, even though they're from the 70s.
Speaking of
90s,
those guys, speaking of that
80s.
team, those Cowgirls,
the dead skin, all of them.
We play them next year. The Patriots actually play the Cowboys and the Browns next year, and we come to Philly regular season.
Please destroy the Cowboys and then throw the game to Philly. That's all I ask. All right. So, we're going to see. And, guys, we know that the football season is over. So, like we've been telling you for the past few weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, we won't be with you weekly, but when anything happens in the NFL, we will jump on here and we will talk about it. Once the draft comes, we will talk about it. We'll be right back at you guys on a weekly basis, probably come into training camp preseason next year, but we will be with you sporadically throughout the off season, man. Another NFL season in the books, another Super Bowl win for the Patriots. Tom Terrific adds to his legacy. My partner is happy. He gets to strut around for another off. And now that I know the feeling, it's like, I like that.
You can't be mad at me. You understand.
I know what the strut feels like. So, strut on, good brother. But Julian Edelman ain't nobody's Hall of Famer. Just wanted to let you know that. Look, man, like I said, it's been a great one. So you can still catch us and everything we're doing at warroomsports.com if you want to listen to archive episodes of this show. Listen to everything we said about football this year so you can get on social media and bash us where we were wrong and not admit where we were right. Go ahead, check it all out, warroomsports.com, or you can catch every episode on the War Room Sports YouTube channel as well. Catch myself and Fred periodically on the show, on the mothership show, The War Room. You can catch that live every week on Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Fred is usually on there for a segment, dropping some knowledge on NFL or college football. So just keep checking out what we're doing, Fred. Give them your Twitter handle so they know where to find you for when we're giving our hot takes during the off season.
You guys can catch me on Twitter, Fred Purdue CFB. I kind of gave my attention to this NFL thing for a bit, but this NFL draft thing, this thing doesn't end. I got a couple surprises, for you guys. I got some guests lined up over, so you guys just got to stay tuned. Yes,
sir. And you have to also catch the both of us on our other program, which is Quick Slants. That's the college football program. We'll be talking NFL draft on that show as well from the college perspective. We're just doing this football thing. So you guys stay with us. You can catch me on Twitter at DevMacWR Sports. You can catch me on the War Room Sports Facebook page, War Room Sports Instagram, War Room Sports, everything. So again, this has been a great NFL season. Congratulations to my partner one more time. And for my partner, Fred Purdue, I'm Devin McMillan. Like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we will see you chumps on top. Peace.
Going up to LaFell. Touchdown. The big screen. Sanchez over the middle. Touchdown. Play action. Cutler wide open. Sanzenbacher.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.
Space. Some regions are vast and empty, other areas we call closets. Fortunately, Kevin from the Container Store has answers.
Right.
Kevin, what gives you the power over space?
I'd say Elfa customizable closets. With free design and Elfa's adjustable shelving and drawers, I can create space in any size closet.
Kevin, master of space and closets.
Or just Kevin. Plus, right now, save 30% on Elfa and installation and earn up to $500 in credit through February 10th.
At the Container Store, where space comes from.
Where is that music coming from?
Space. Some regions are vast and empty, other areas we call closets. Fortunately, Kevin from the Container Store has answers.
Right.
Kevin, what gives you the power over space?
I'd say Elfa customizable closets. With free design and Elfa's adjustable shelving and drawers, I can create space in any size closet.
Kevin, master of space and closets.
Or just Kevin. Plus, right now, save 30% on Elfa and installation and earn up to $500 in credit through February 10th.
At the Container Store, where space comes from.
Where is that music coming from?